evening. Very sorry I am a bit early by 30 minutes. I was supposed to start at 9:30, but I have started at 9 p.m. In the first part, I will discuss on VIDYASAGAR. Today is the birthday of VIDYASAGAR. Sorry, I am reducing my voice. Am I audible and visible? And let me start. It will be recorded. It will be heard by in any time by others. Let me start. Today my discussion is for two reasons. What VIDYASAGAR today, how we have remembered, how he is remembered throughout the country. VIDYASAGAR is one of the pioneers for whom the Renaissance of Bengal in social reforming or educational reforming started in Bengal. When Bengal, Calcutta was the capital of British India. How we remember him today? Let me start in around 1967. A.L. Dias, the governor of Bengal, at the time Bengal was under governor rule. Governor of Bengal, A.L. Dias, they passed ICS, not IS, British era of ICS. As governor came to our village. And on the issue of garlanding the, thank you Shubhusachin, garlanding a statue of VIDYASAGAR, it became very clear that the governor of Bengal, A.L. Dias, do not know the name of VIDYASAGAR. Yes, that is the situation. Throughout the country, through UPSC, we produce IAS officers, IPS, IFS officers, IAS officers who become bureaucrats, administrators, IPS officers who become the police officers, and IFS officers who become our foreign service officers, even ambassadors. To think of the situation in their syllabus, UPSC syllabus, if you go into that, on history of Bharat, on history of India, there are books. In those books, which is prescribed for them to study, you will get hundreds of pages of Nehru dynasty, Gandhi, but you will hardly get one page on IN and Netaji. And you will see almost no mention of VIDYASAGAR. This education is producing our professors, our academicians, our administrators, our ambassadors. And I can assure you, majority of our politicians outside Bengal, they do not know the name of VIDYASAGAR. Even Bengal politicians, they may know the name of VIDYASAGAR, but they don't know on which principles, on which ideals Vidyasagar stood. What for Vidyasagar stands. This history in a situation compulsion our people has forgotten, or a situation has been created to forget our history, our heritage. After partition, for 2 decades, more than 2 decades, Bengal was ruled by Congress. Congress was allergic to persons like Khudiram and was not very eager to worship Vidyasagar because they were very busy in highlighting Nehru and Gandhi's. Then came the communists, and these communists and Nehru Gandhi's at the center, and communists who ruled Bengal 34 years. In that period, the history writing of Bengal and also of this India went to the hands of communists, and that communists produced educated in JNU. The JNU products, they became the historians to write down the history of Bharat, of Bengal. And the history books of Shadurnath Sarkar or R.C. Mojumdar was removed from syllabus of the schools, colleges and universities. A new lots of volumes written by Irfan Habibs, Romila Thapars, all these communists who wrote volumes at the blessings of the Nehru Gandhi at the center, and communists in ruling in Bengal, their volumes became the text volumes taught in school, colleges and universities. What are the quality of these Irfan and Romila Habibs and Romila Thapars? These are the persons who in their writings in history, they can very easily write Babur the Great, Akbar the Great and Aurangzeb the Great. They hardly mention the name of Vidyasagar. And in this Bengal, I tell you, the persons who are Congress group minded, they are hesitant to mention the name of Khudiram. They do not like to worship much Vidyasagar, remember Vidyasagar. Communists started, different groups of communists started celebrating the birthday of Vidyasagar. And some other communist group, they started Vidyasagar and Khudiram. And all for their political purpose. That political purpose for their fulfill their political agendas. The communist groups who started celebrating the birthday, the Communist Party of CPM, who started celebrating the birthday of Vidyasagar, particularly in Bir Singh, every year spending lakhs of rupees of government money. In 34 years, what they were done in Bir Singh, what they have done to keep up, to bring up the history of Vidyasagar, how the heritage is being maintained, almost nothing. They only used the name of Vidyasagar because they wanted an icon. Because their icons is Lenin, Stalin, all these persons who are from outside this boundary of India. they wanted some Indian icons. Political agenda, they use Vidyasagar. But they will never utter, they will never discuss from where the Vidyasagar was born, from where the ideas of Vidyasagar came, why the Vidyasagar is so great, what is the root of the ideas for which Vidyasagar fought throughout his career with so much difficulties. What is this root? That root they will never discuss. They will never discuss the root of Vidyasagar is the history, heritage and scriptures of Bharatvarsh, who are mainly in our Vedas and in subsequent scriptures in Sanskrit. They will never mention, because they have got an agenda to tell that Sanskrit is an old language, is a dead language. They will always they will always tell that they will always tell against Sanskrit, because their propaganda is who are telling on Sanskrit, who are telling on the scriptures in Sanskrit are all orthodox persons, all backdated persons, non-scientific, not rational, not progressive. They are Hindutvadi, they are RSS, they are BJP. That's their propaganda. If you talk on the history and heritage of and the scriptures of Bharatvarsh, they will review you in front of you or behind you as Hindutvadi, orthodox, non-scientific, irrational, all this in these languages. And discuss. That's why they will never discuss on which the principles and ideas of Vidyasagar, for which throughout the whole career Vidyasagar fought. They will never discuss. And remember, if you want to destroy a person, destroy a society, destroy a nation, your enemy will try to cut the root. And then the enemy need not chop off your head, cut your head, cut your neck. You will automatically die. If you want to kill a giant tree, just inject poison to the root. Cut off the root. The whole tree, the giant tree will die. And all these communists, on one side Congress people, will not mention, will not praise very much these our real heroes who are standing on our history, heritage, our scriptures. On the other side, the communists will never mention the root of these persons. Then I am going to I will describe Vidyasagar from as described by, as narrated by R.C. Majumdar, and then I will read how Subhash Chandra has remembered Vidyasagar in his writings. I will just quote from there. Then I will put some notes to you. Then I think only Shubhasachi is there. Okay. I was supposed to start at 9:30, but I have started at 9. It is even recorded. First I will read out from the R.C. Majumdar. R.C. Majumdar, yes, R.C. Majumdar. Renaissance India, 19th century, by R.C. Majumdar. From this volume, I'll few lines on Vidyasagar. How R.C. Mujumdar, Ramesh Chandra Mujumdar historian, has placed in the perspective, placed Vidyasagar in the perspective. I am reading that part. Another important landmark in gradual improvement of the lot of Hindu women was the legalization of the remarriage of Hindu widows. Although ancient Hindu scriptures sanction such marriage in certain circumstances, the law and the practice gradually came into disuse, and even a man like Ram Mohan Rai definitely opposed its reintroductions on the ground that it was an universal practice or custom among the upper class Hindus, but it was an orthodox Brahmin Pandit, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, whose unwearied and almost lifelong efforts led to the passing of legislation sanctioning it, Hindu Widows Remarriage Act 15 of 1856. It must be noted, however, that in spite of Act, the remarriage of the Hindu widows did not make any substantial progress in 19th century. The greatest evil for which the women suffered was here Vidyasagar is mentioned in this way. I'm going to so then another page I go. The role of Vidyasagar in the widow's remarriage. Then another in education. But in spite of the inauspicious beginning, the college founded by Bethune, known first as Hindu Girls College and then as Bethune College, turned out to be the most important institution for the higher education of women in Bengal, a position which it occupies till today. Next to Bethune, the name of Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar stands foremost in the early history of this college. He was appointed by Bethune the honorary secretary of the college in 1815. In this way, I'm glad only the pages mentioning Vidyasagar in history by R.C. Mujumdar I am mentioning his role. Next is his role in female education. State should be okay. Then I am coming to in 1855, the Maharaja of Barwan presented a petition to the Legislative Council setting forth the monstrous evils arising from the practice of unrestricted polygamy. Here Vidyasagar is fighting against polygamy, especially among the Kulins. The Lieutenant Governor Sir J.P. Grant promised in 1857 to introduce a bill on this subject, but the mutiny stopped all further action. Mutiny means 1857 mutiny. 57 mutiny, Sipai mutiny, and also changed the attitude of the government regarding social legislation. So when in 1863 several petitions were presented to the government by nearly 21,000 Hindus in Bengal for the enactment of a law to restrain the abuse, the Governor General in Council refused to introduce a bill as recommended by the Government of Bengal, but advised it to appoint a committee to review the situation. The committee appointed in 1866 included several eminent Indians and Europeans. They reported in 1867 to the effect that they could not suggest the enactment of any declaratory law or of any legislative measures that will suffice for the suppression of the abuse of polygamy. Even more important than this decision was the opinion expressed by two Indian members of the committee, namely Ramnath Tagore and Digambar Mitra. They held that the evils had been too much exaggerated and were already on decline, and that this question may, without injury to the public morals, he left for settlement the good sense judgment of the people. The third Indian member, Joy Krishna Mukherjee, also held that the state should not interfere in the matter. Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was the only member to submit a note of dissent. He maintained that the evils were not greatly exaggerated, and the decrease of these evils was not sufficient to do away with the necessity of the legislation. He was therefore in favor of passing a declaratory law. The Secretary of the State decided against any legislation. Subsequently, the law that the views of the government gradually changed in favor of the legislation for the social reform is proved by the Age of Consent Act, forbidding the consummation of marriage before the wife had reached the age of 12, which was passed in 1891. But as the case of the abolition of the Shoti right, there was a violent opposition from the Orthodox community led by the great politician B.G. Tilak. He was severely denounced by the political opponents and became very unpopular with the liberal Hindus. Tilak, however, made it quite clear that he objected not to the provisions of the bill but to the right of the foreign government to interfere in the social reform of the Hindus. People who blamed him hardly realized that Tilak merely continued the tradition of Ram Mohan Rai, followed by many Hindu leaders throughout the country. Then I will read some pages from another page of the volume on Vidyasagar. Yes, that is the movement, that is the Nil Vidroh. On Nil Vidroh is role of Vidyasagar. Yes. The planters resorted to all kinds of legal and illegal means to force the riot to agree to the contract, and sometimes even got his signature on blank papers. And imperishable record of the tyranny of the indigo planters has been preserved in the drama Nil Darpan by Dinabandhu Mitra, and the story goes that Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was so moved by the actual performance of the drama on the stage that he threw his slippers at the man who was setting the part, acting the part of the planter. Yes. In this way, the R.C. Majumdar has recorded the role of Vidyasagar in this volume. Now I will go how Subhash Chandra in Indian Pilgrim has remembered Vidyasagar. That is the gist. So I am reading. First I will read from English, because the original Indian Pilgrim was written by Subhash Chandra in English. Then I will read from Bharat Pothi, which is the translation of this volume. Yes. First I will read from Indian pilgrim Subhash Chandra Bose. The cultural awakening was not confined to the Brahmo Samaj. However, even those who regarded the Brahmos as too heretical, revolutionary, or iconoclastic were keen about the revival of the indigenous culture of India, while the Brahmos and other progressive sections of the people replied to the challenge of the West by trying to assimilate all that was good in the Western culture. The more orthodox circles responded by justifying whatever there was to be found in Hindu society and by trying to prove that all the discoveries and the inventions of the West were known to the ancient sages of India. Thus, the impact of the West roused even the orthodox circles from their self-complacency. There was a great deal of literary activities among them, and they produced able men like Shashodhar Tarka Chudamani, but much of their energy was directed towards the meeting the terrible onslaughts on the Hindu religion coming from the Christian missionaries. In this, there was common ground between the Brahmos and the Orthodox Pandits, though in other matters there were no love lost between them. Out of the conflict between this old and this new, out of conflict between this old and the new, between the conservatives and the radicals, between the Brahmos and the Pandits, there emerged a new type, the noblest embodiment of which was Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. I am again writing this sentence, very important, very important. Out of this conflict between the old and the new, between the conservatives and the radicals, between the Brahmos and the Pandits, there emerged a new type, the noblest embodiment of which is Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. The new type of Indian stood for progress and for synthesis of the Eastern and Western culture, and accepted generally the spirit of reform which was abroad, but refused to break away from Hindu society and to go too far in emulating the West, as the Brahmos were inclined to do at first. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, for instance, was brought up in an Orthodox Pandit family because the father of modern Bengali prose and a protagonist of Western science and culture, and was a great social reformer and philanthropist. But till the last, he stuck to the simple and austere life of the Orthodox Pandit. He boldly advocated the remarriage of Hindu widows and incurred the wrath of conservatives in doing so, but based on the arguments mainly in the fact that the ancient scriptures approve of such custom. The type which Ishwar Chandra represented ultimately found its religious and philosophical expression in Ramakrishna Paramahansa and his worthy disciple Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda died in 1902, and the religio-philosophical movement was continued through the personality of Aurobindo Ghosh, or he plunged into thick of it, and in 1908 became one of the foremost political leaders. In him, spirituality was wedded to politics. Aurobindo retired from politics in 1909 to devote himself exclusively to religion, but spirituality and politics continued to be associated together in the life of Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Mahatma Gandhi. This is, in short, what Subhash Chandra is written on Vidyasagar and put in a very short with clarity put Vidyasagar in the perspective of Renaissance and in the background of this history, this Renaissance of Bengal, actually Renaissance of Bengal, Renaissance of Bharat. Now I will read this part, what is the time? This part from Bharat Pothi in Bengal. Naturally, I will read this part in Bengal, Bharat Pothi. Yes. I'm very try to be specific in a Chatur Yesh. I am from the Bengali book Bharat Pothi. Yes. রামমোহনের আদর্শকেই সরকারের পক্ষ থেকে গ্রহণ করা হয়। রামমোহন তার গভীর অন্তর্দৃষ্টি দিয়ে বহুদিন আগেই বুঝেছিলেন পাশ্চাত্য বিজ্ঞান এবং দর্শনকে গ্রহণ না করলে দেশের উন্নতি অসম্ভব। অবশ্য এই সাংস্কৃতিক বিপ্লব শুধু ব্রাহ্ম সমাজেই নিবদ্ধ ছিল তা নয়। যারা ব্রাহ্মদের সমাজদ্রোহী ধর্মবিদ্রোহী বলে মনে করতেন তারাও স্বদেশের প্রাচীন সংস্কৃতিকে পুনরুজ্জীবিত করার জন্য উৎসুক হয়ে উঠেছিলেন। পাশ্চাত্য সমাজের সঙ্গে সমতালে চলার জন্য ব্রাহ্ম এবং অন্যান্য প্রগতিপন্থী সম্প্রদায় যখন পাশ্চাত্য সভ্যতার সব জিনিসগুলি আহরণ করতে ব্যস্ত, অধিকতর গোড়া সম্প্রদায়ের লোকেরা হিন্দু সমাজের মহিমা কীর্তন করিতে ব্যগ্র হইয়া পড়িলেন। প্রচার করিতে লাগিলেন যে হিন্দু সমাজের সবাই অভ্রান্ত। এমনকি তারা এও দাবি করিলেন যে পাশ্চাত্য সভ্যতা যেসব নতুন নতুন বৈজ্ঞানিক আবিষ্কার নিয়ে আজ গর্ব করছে সেসবই ভারতের প্রাচীন মুনি ঋষিরা বহুদিন আগে আবিষ্কার করে গেছেন। এইভাবে পাশ্চাত্য সভ্যতার সঙ্গে সংঘর্ষের ফলে অত্যন্ত গোড়া সম্প্রদায়ও কর্মতৎপর হয়ে উঠেছিল। তাদের মধ্যে অনেকেই সাহিত্যিকে যথেষ্ট নাম অর্জন করেছিলেন। শশধর চরকতুরামণির নাম তার মধ্যে সবচেয়ে বিখ্যাত। এদের রচনার প্রধান উদ্দেশ্যই ছিল খ্রিস্টান মিশনারিদের প্রভাব খর্ব করে হিন্দু ধর্মের প্রচার করা। এ ব্যাপারে অবশ্য ব্রাহ্মদের সঙ্গে গোড়া পণ্ডিতদের মতৈক্য ছিল, কিন্তু অন্য সব ব্যাপারে তাদের মধ্যে কখনো মতের মিল দেখা যায়নি। পুরাতন পন্থীদের সঙ্গে নতুনের পণ্ডিতদের সঙ্গে ব্রাহ্মদের এই সংঘর্ষের ফলে আরেকটি নতুন মতের উদ্ভব হয়েছিল। নতুন মতের প্রধান সমর্থক ছিলেন পণ্ডিত ঈশ্বরচন্দ্র বিদ্যাসাগর। এই মতের সমর্থকেরা প্রগতিপন্থী ছিলেন এবং তারা দেশীয় এবং পাশ্চাত্য সংস্কৃতির সমন্বয়ের সমর্থন করতেন, কিন্তু পাশ্চাত্য সংস্কৃতির ধারাকে মোটামুটি সমর্থন করলেও এরা কখনো হিন্দু সমাজ থেকে বিচ্ছিন্ন হতে রাজি হননি। প্রথম যুগের ব্রাহ্মদের মতো পাশ্চাত্য রীতিদের অন্ধ অনুকরণকেও সমর্থন করেননি। গোড়া পণ্ডিত রূপে শিক্ষিত হলেও ঈশ্বরচন্দ্র বিদ্যাসাগর পাশ্চাত্য বিজ্ঞান ও সংস্কৃতির একজন প্রধান সমর্থক ছিলেন। তার মহানুভবতা এবং সমাজ সংস্কারের প্রচেষ্টা তো সর্বজনবিদিত। এছাড়া আধুনিক বাংলা গদ্যের জনক হিসেবেও বাংলা সাহিত্যে তার স্থান সুপ্রতিষ্ঠিত। তিনি এত প্রগতিপন্থী হলেও বিদ্যাসাগর ব্যক্তিগত জীবনে চিরকাল অত্যন্ত নিষ্ঠাবান পণ্ডিতের মতো অনাড়ম্বর জীবনযাপন করেছেন। বিধবা বিবাহের সপক্ষে তুমুল আন্দোলন করে তিনি রক্ষণশীল সম্প্রদায়ের বিরাগভাজন হয়েছিলেন, কিন্তু প্রমাণ করেছিলেন যে বিধবা বিবাহ সম্পূর্ণ শাস্ত্রসম্মত। ঈশ্বরচন্দ্র যে মানসিক উদারতা এবং মানবহিতৈষণার প্রতিভূস্বরূপ ছিলেন ধর্মে ও দর্শনে, তার প্রকাশ পেয়েছিল রামকৃষ্ণ পরমহংসদেবের এবং তার সুযোগ্য শিষ্য স্বামী বিবেকানন্দের মধ্যে। 1902 সালে স্বামী বিবেকানন্দ মারা গেলে এই আধ্যাত্মিক আন্দোলনের ধারা বহনের ভার পড়ল অরবিন্দ ঘোষের উপরে। In this way he has put in the perspective Vidyasagar. Now I will discuss a few only for those persons, those who like to give importance to the reading of our ancient scripts, who are rebuked by the communist and camouflage communist as orthodox. They rebuke these persons who give importance to the ancient scriptures as agents of RSS or BJP or non-scientific, orthodox, backward minded, all these languages. I am for them. I am putting some statements. Okay. One statement, one by one. I am putting these statements. They are on. I have put it in all these statements in my volume, third volume, Netaji Subhash Chandra, Bitarko Tottho, third volume. Apollonius Tyrannicus, a Greek scholar, his statement: in India I found a race of mortals living upon the earth, but not adhering to it, inhabiting cities, but not being faced to them, possessing everything, but possessed by nothing. ভারতবর্ষে আমি একটি জাতি দেখেছি যারা মরণশীল, যারা এই পৃথিবীর উপর বাস করে বিভিন্ন শহরে, তাদের সব কিছুই আছে, কিন্তু কোনো কিছুই তাদের বেঁধে ফেলতে পারে না। Will these communists and camouflage communists call Apollonius Tyrannicus a RSS agent or a BJP agent? Another statement for Willie Durant, who is now recognized in the writings of world history as the #1 historian. Willie Durant. In one place, Willie Durant is writing, India was the motherland of our race and Sanskrit, the mother of European languages. India was the mother of our philosophy, of much of our mathematics, of the ideas embodied in Christianity, of self-government and democracy. In many ways, Mother India is the mother of all of us. Willie Durant. ভারতবর্ষ আমাদের জাতির মাতৃভূমি। সংস্কৃত হলো সমস্ত ইউরোপীয় ভাষার মাতৃস্বরূপা। ভারতবর্ষ হলো মাতা। আমাদের দর্শনের, আমাদের অঙ্কশাস্ত্রের, খ্রিস্টান ধর্মের মূল আদর্শের, স্বায়ত্তশাসন ও গণতন্ত্রের অনেকভাবেই ভারত মাতা আমাদের সকলের মাতা। Is Willie Durant is RSS agent or BJP agent? Now, Lord Curzon, though he is the Lord Curzon divided Bengal in 1905, yes, but he was a very brilliant academician. India has left a deep mark upon the history, philosophy, and religion of mankind, more than any other terrestrial unity in the universe. Lord Curzon. এই পৃথিবীর যে কোনো জাতিগোষ্ঠীর থেকে ভারতবর্ষ মানব জাতির ইতিহাস, দর্শন ও ধর্মের উপর অধিকতর প্রভাব বিস্তার করেছে। Is Lord Curzon the RSS agent? Orthodox? BJP agent? Then Romarola. If there is one place on the earth where all dreams of living men have found a home from the very earliest days of men's existence on the earth, it is India. Romarola. এই পৃথিবীর উপর যদি কোনো স্থান থাকে যেখানে মানব জাতি তার অস্তিত্বের আদিমতম যুগ থেকে আজ পর্যন্ত সব চিন্তা ভাবনা স্বপ্ন দেখেছে তা সবই আশ্রয় পেয়েছে, তা হলো ভারতবর্ষ। ইজ রোমারোলা an agent of RSS or BJP? Albert Einstein, I'm quoting, we owe a lot to the Indians who taught us how to count, without which no worthwhile scientific discovery would have been done. আমরা অনেক বেশি ঋণী ভারতবাসীর কাছে, যারা আমাদেরকে গণিত বিজ্ঞান শিখিয়েছে, যা ছাড়া কোনো উপযুক্ত বৈজ্ঞানিক আবিষ্কার সম্ভব হতো না। ইজ অ্যালবার্ট আইনস্টাইন এ RSS or BJP agent? Max Muller. In the study of history of the human mind, in the study of ourselves, our true selves, India occupies a place second to no other country. Whatever sphere of the human mind you may select for your special study, whether it be language or religion or mythology or philosophy, whether it be laws or customs, primitive arts or primitive science, everywhere you have to go to India, whether you like it or not, because some of the most valuable and instructive materials in the history of man are treasured up in India and India only. Max Muller. মনস্তাত্ত্বিক গবেষণার ইতিহাস, মানুষ ও তার নিজের বিষয়ে যে আপন প্রকৃত সত্তার খোঁজ, যে বিষয়ই হোক, ভারত অন্য যে কোনো দেশের থেকে এগিয়ে থাকবে। মনস্তত্ত্বের যে কোনো ক্ষেত্রকেই আপনি বিশেষভাবে জানার বা বোঝার জন্য বেছে নিন, ভাষা, ধর্ম, পুরাণ, দর্শন বা সে যে আইন, দর্শন বা যে আইনই হোক, প্রথা, আদি শিল্প, বিজ্ঞান, যাই হোক, আপনি চান বা না চান, আপনাকে ভারতবর্ষে যেতে হবে। কারণ মানব ইতিহাসের সর্বোৎকৃষ্ট মূল্যবান নির্দেশমূলক উপাদানগুলি ভারতবর্ষে, কেবল ভারতবর্ষেই গচ্ছিত আছে। Is Max Muller a BJP agent or RSS agent? Another, just quoting, yes. Astronomy was practiced in India as early as 2780 BC. That is 4.7 thousand years back. Weber's Indian literature. And you'll see that the congus, poisoned congus, seculars are afraid of discussing Indian scriptures, and communists are determined to destroy our history heritage. They will not mention that. That's why they will mention the name of Khudiram, but never mention that his spirituality, his mental strength came for the Gita. They will never mention that. They will use politically Khudiram as an icon without mentioning that all the mental power, mental strength, moral strength came from readings of Gita. They will never mention that. Similarly, they will discuss Vidyasagar. They will use political use of Vidyasagar for their political agendas, but not mention from where Vidyasagar got this energy, got this inspiration, got these lessons. May I stop here now? How many minutes? Abhijit Bhattacharya? Half an hour. Now it is 9:46. I think I will read on Mahakal Kathon relating Vietnam War. I'll sit again after half an hour. I'll sit again on half an hour. It will be in bilanguage, English and Bengali. Mahakal Kathon relating Vietnam War. And one part is I have already read out. The last part I read, maybe a few lines will overlap. I will start at 10:15 like that. With your permission, may I leave now? Abhiniko Joydeep shortcut. Yes. Our Rabindranath or Swami Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, Khudiram or Vidyasagar, they have got their roots in our culture, heritage, history, in our scriptures. That will not be mentioned by the Sikumaku commons. They are in a common front to destroy our roots. We are all united to destroy our roots. It's all Sikumaku commons, remember. They are in camouflage in many posts, in many fronts. Here of them. Here they are determined, they are taught by their foreign masters to destroy our history, heritage, literature, our scriptures. They want to deroot us. Because they know the moment we will be derooted, we will die, we will be weakened. And foreign ideologies will enter into our brain. It will be very easy to poison us. Remember, in this country today, it is Bengal. Majority of the intelligentsia here in Bengal are poisoned. That's why this poisoning of the brains of intelligentsia of Bengal is the root of this degraded condition of this West Bengal. When Assam, even Odisha and UP is progressing academically, economically, on the industrial front, on the technological front, Bengal is going behind. Because our intelligentsia, who are the torchbearers of society, mentally are most rotten, most poisoned. They have no respect for their history, heritage. They have forgotten their roots. They are all poisoned with the ideologies brought from outside the boundary of this country. And if the intelligentsia is maximally poisoned in this Bharatvarsha, it's this West Bengal. It is this West Bengal. And naturally, revival is of this West Bengal in academic front, in economic front, social front, educational front, political front. It's very difficult, because the whole intelligentsia is rotten, has become the puppets, slaves of the foreign ideologies. Let me stop here now. Is it? No. Let me stop here now, and I will start at 10:15 on Mahakal Kathon relating Vietnam War in bilanguage, English and Bengali. Let me stop here now. Thank you all. At 10:15.